What is up, folks? Today we are checking out this little monitor that Fotga sent me. It is the A50 TLS Pro 4K touchscreen monitor with full 3D LUT support and 3G SDI in and out. Okay guys, this little monitor right here from Fotga is actually quite impressive. It is super affordable and is packed full of features. This version that I have is the A50 TLS, otherwise known as the Pro version. TLS, the T stands for touchscreen, L stands for LUT support, and the S stands for SDI, and it retails for $259 over there on Amazon Prime. Now, if you don't need the 3G SDI in and out ports, you could just get the A50 TL version. It's still a 4K monitor, still has touchscreen and 3D LUT support, and it only comes in at $209, so you could save yourself $50 if you didn't need the SDI. The one I have with me today is the Pro version, the A50 TLS, so that's the one we're going to be checking out today. But just keep in mind that while we're looking at this, you could literally just go for the standard version at $149, and the only thing you'd be missing out on is touchscreen, 3D LUT support, and the 3G SDI ports. Full disclosure here, Fotga did send me this monitor to review, but keep in mind, they don't pay me anything. They're not sponsoring this video. They don't sponsor the channel, so I can do and say whatever I want. And if you follow the channel, you guys kind of know that's my MO, to try to be as genuine as possible with all of you. That's the whole motive behind Dog Times, right? And one thing I will say that I am impressed about this little monitor is the screen quality. This is a 4K monitor with a DCI P3 color gamut. So that means that essentially this is the same color science that my $900 Blackmagic Video Assist 12G HDR monitor has. So when you look at those price differences, that's a huge bonus that you get with this monitor, but at the end of the day, they are still completely opposite on the spectrum. However, the A50 TLS is only a 700 nit monitor, but it has a really interesting high bright mode, and we'll be checking that out later when we do the screen brightness test outdoors. Right now, I want to dive into this monitor, check out all the scopes and user settings, and see what all the A50 monitor has to offer from the inside. As you can see, we can zoom in 300 times with the touchscreen. So that's kind of cool, you know? Okay, let's see. Okay, so as you see here, there's our parade, our RGB parade, the waveform, normal waveform, and off. So I'm just touching the buttons. This is default all out of the box here. Vector scope. This one is histogram. And function 4 button is your false color. So yeah. And then there's 3 more function buttons up here. Function 5, which is your backlight. So function 5 turns your backlight down. Function 6 turns your backlight up. So that backlight can go all the way to 100. Here's the danger that I find with backlights is sometimes they'll fool you if you're only, like if you're a person that does not believe in using light meters, or maybe you don't even know how to use a light meter and then you're relying on a backlight on your monitor, you could end up getting footage that's super underexposed if your backlight is too bright, or overexposed if your backlight's too dark. That's why I kind of don't rely on monitors for exposure, but that's why it's nice to have false color built in so you really know what's going on. So there's 2 different types of false color. This is cool. This looks like you can customize your own false color. So that's pretty awesome. I love that it has that option to be able to customize false color. Okay, so let's see what functions. Okay, function 7 is your high bright. Okay, so I adjusted the exposure on the GH5 so you could see it, but I'm gonna leave it in high bright mode because I kind of dig it more. And then there's a click wheel here. So I like that it's both touchscreen and the functions. I like that. I like having both. I think it's cool. Okay, so the click wheel here, we're gonna tap this and we can instantly get into the display. Something cool about this, so they have lots of different safety markers, aspect ratios, if you will. But what's cool is there is a user one. Now I love this option. So now you can go in here and you can create your own aspect ratio. What is cool about this is because if you're someone like me that is in pre-production for a pilot shoot for Quibi. So Quibi is this new platform on cell phones where you have to deliver a 16:9 and a 9:16 timeline at the same exact time. Identical timelines in 2 different aspect ratios, and Quibi streams both of those identical timelines to the viewer at once, right? It's this new viewing experience for cell phones only. I have a full rundown of the whole pre-production process of this, preparing for this Quibi pilot over on the Dog Times Patreon. So if you don't know about the Dog Times Patreon, it's just kind of like a It's like a little clubhouse of like-minded DIY indie filmmakers, and it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in that, you should check it out. So I do love that they have this option. You can fully customize the aspect ratios. That way you can have one aspect ratio that you're watching on the monitor. Meanwhile, downstairs on your camera, you have a different aspect ratio. For something like Quibi, that's gonna come in handy big time. Or even if you're shooting something for Instagram, right? So if you're shooting for something for Instagram and you need 9:16 up here, you could create your own 9:16. So you have some options for different things, you know? Boy, the wheel is really sensitive. Video aspect, okay, this is where you can, you can really change the actual aspect of your thing. Stretch is good. You can have all your anamorphic flavors here. So this is cool. You can get a true video aspect rather than just the lines, right? So that's cool. But again, I think 9:16 should be included. Here's your anamorphic mode. So we have all of that, right? That's cool. All modes of anamorphic, that's nice. The zoom goes up to 300, we saw that. So you can do, I did it with my fingers earlier, but you can also do it in the wheel if you wanted to take forever, but it goes up to 300%. So that's cool, but you can do it by squeezing it like an iPhone too. Rotate, so that's cool. You can rotate your thing. Dot to dot, that's pixel to pixel, I assume. Okay, so that's your display options. Functions, monochrome, false color, peak color. You guys should know what all this stuff is. We're not gonna go deep into this. Oh, they got color bars. That's always nice. A color bar option, that's nice. And in here you see you can custom program all 7 of the function buttons on top. So that's pretty cool too. You can change all of those, whatever you want those to be. The LUTs. Oh, so they have some LUTs already installed. This is what it comes. Fotga, they got their own log LUT. That's interesting. Vlog, they have a LUT for that. They have a LUT for log C. They have S-Log3 LUT, S-Log2 LUT, HLG 709 LUT, okay, and a Fotga log LUT. I have a USB drive right here. I'm gonna plug this into the back, and we're gonna try importing the LUT. There they go. So those are the dog times LUTs. So yeah, your LUTs cannot be in a folder when you import them via the USB drive. It has to just be, they just have to be on the drive, easily accessible. We've seen monitors in the past where you can actually open up folders that are on your USB drive, but this is one of those cases where they cannot be in a folder, they just have to be easily accessible. So now we can click through here and see where our LUTs are. Okay, there's one of our dog times LUTs. That's the P4K interior warm LUT. Yeah. So this is our P4K LUT here, one that I created for my stuff. So that's cool, we have that in there. So that's without the LUT, and then I'm gonna go in here. Now you can turn your LUT buttons on up with your 7 function buttons at the top. I just don't wanna do that right now, but just know that, so you just know you don't have to go in here every time. This click wheel is a little odd, I'm finding. Okay, and there we go. That's with the LUT. That's the interior warm LUT that I created for the Pocket 4K. So basics, so this is cool. You can change your color space. I really think this is cool. Oh, they just have 2 options, DCI P3 or Rec 709. Okay, but that's not bad, being able to change it. Here you can totally, this is nice to have these options. You can change your brightness, your contrast, saturation, sharpness, hue. H-Bright is on right now, but it is really great to have all these options. I really like having a monitor that really lets you dive in deep with the color settings, because you can properly calibrate it. Maybe not fully properly calibrate it, but at least calibrate it to something that is somewhat better than just out of the box. Do you know what I mean? Because every monitor needs to be calibrated for each camera that it's used on, right? Because all sensors are different. So it is nice to have one that you can actually dive in there and really break down the color space. Okay, and then the system, touchscreen. So it has a little fan. The little fan is it's not bad, but you can hear it. I could hear it, but it's cool that you have the option to turn it off and on, so that's nice. It's not terribly loud, but it does make a little bit of a hum, but nothing crazy, nothing that I don't even think your audio guy would pick it up, to be honest. There was one more thing I forgot to show you guys, and that's this freeze thing down here. So this is kind of similar to the small HD thing, but as you see there, she's frozen. I kind of dig that. I think that's actually kind of cool. It's almost like the small HD thing where you can actually like take a screen grab of it. So it's not quite as advanced as that, but it's still interesting that you have that option. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I mean, it has all the, all the features that I would want in a monitor. It has this really interesting matte finish. You can turn the touchscreen on or off. Now, I do notice that it is really hot to touch when I'm touching it, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, like when I'm doing this, I'm touching the screen, it's hot, like really hot. Next, we're gonna be looking at the screen brightness test outdoors. Now, even though this monitor does have a really good contrast ratio of 1500 to 1, it still only comes in at 700 nits, but it does have that cool high bright mode, which we'll see here in a minute, as well as a 170-degree wide angle view, and they do ship it with a really well-built sun hood. So I'm gonna turn the high bright off. So there's the high bright off, and then we can change the brightness level of the screen, or the backlight, sorry. We're gonna drop the backlight all the way down, and then we're gonna crank it up. Oh wow, so this is interesting. The backlight going down, I could just press and hold, but when you wanna bring it up, that's not really the way it works. So you have to do it increment by increment. It's kind of a bummer. Okay, I'm gonna crank it up all the way so we can see just how good it goes here. There's backlight 100%, and then highlight on. So as you can see, we got no hood here. And there's the high H bright off. It's actually not bad, actually. Not even really any glare because of that matte screen, so that's nice. And I don't even have their little hood on here. So it's actually not bad. You can point out there so we can see how bright it is. Now go back down to the screen. Yeah, that's actually pretty decent. See what the viewing angle is on that? Yeah. Go above it if you can. Come down. Yeah, that's not bad actually. Okay, let me turn off the highlight again so we can see that difference. Yeah, that's with the high bright off and then the high bright on. It's actually a lot better than what I thought it was gonna be. Lastly is the latency test. I tested out the latency of the A50 on both my Pocket 4K and the Lumix GH5. Here goes the latency test on the Blackmagic. Out of focus, in focus. 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 This is with the GH5. Now the GH5 does suffer from latency overall. We've seen that in the Shinobi, the Blackmagic HDR video assist. I mean, we know the GH5 has horrible latency issues with its HDMI output, and we're seeing it here on the Fotga as well. This is why I hate the Sigma Art. Smallest focus pull ever. Here we go. In focus, out of focus. 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 As you saw in the walkthrough, they have all of those scopes. I think that's cool. Quality of the scopes, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys to decide, but at least you get them, right? They have a lot of scopes there for you. The high bright mode on this thing is actually pretty dang good. And I'll let you guys be the judge of that, but when we took it outdoors there to do the test on it with the bright sunlight, it's actually pretty nice. And I think a lot of it too is the fact that it has a wide viewing angle and it has a 1500 to 1 contrast ratio, which is really dang decent. And this actually is a true 4K monitor, and it does accept up to 60 frames per second, true 60 frames per second. So not just over crank 60 frames. As far as SDI in and out, if you did not need SDI in and out, it would only be $209. To me, that's a crazy good deal for everything you get with this. The fact that you can dial in your own aspect ratios is super, super awesome. And also I think the fact that you can completely calibrate the color space, that is huge. Because even the Blackmagic HDR 12G Video Assist, does not have full capabilities to fully calibrate that thing. And that's kind of a bummer, because that would be huge if you were able to do that on an HDR monitor. So being able to do something like that on a budget-friendly monitor is insane to me. The only little kind of negatives that I have about this monitor is the build quality. I'm not a fan of plastic monitors. That's kind of a minus for me. And also the heat. It generates a crap ton of heat. Now it has tons of fans all around it, so I'm not sure where the heat's coming from. Maybe the heat issue could be because I had the fan turned off, because you do have the option, as we saw in the walkthrough, where you can turn the fan off or on. And to be honest with you, I don't remember, during the testing if I turned it back on. So maybe it does generate a crap ton of internal heat when the fan is off. So that is something to keep in mind. Even to the point to where when I put the flash drive in it to import the LUTs, when I took the flash drive out, it was super, super hot. So that is something to be aware of, right? Maybe you will always have to run the fan on for the majority of the time. The other little kind of negative I have about it is they chose to put a 3/8 on the bottom and on the side. Now they have 2 1/4-20s on this side. Oh, they have 3 3/8s. So they have a big 3/8, a big 3/8, and a big 3/8 on the bottom. But for some reason on the bottom, they didn't decide to put 2 other 1/4-20s. But however, on the sides, you have the option of 2 1/4-20s or a 3/8 on both sides. But on the bottom, you only have 3/8s. But now they do include those little converters. So I think the note that I would say to Fotga is, I don't understand why the bottom one is a 3/8. When I'm just thinking of the people that would be buying this, right? So this is clearly a budget option monitor. And I think their customers are probably gonna be people more leaning towards the 1/4-20 side of things rather than the 3/8 side of things. That's just my opinion on it. Take it what you will. But I think it's kind of silly. I mean, it's cool if you want to include 3/8s on the side, but if you're only going to have one port on the bottom, I wouldn't even mess with the converter. I would say maybe just, if I was designing this thing, I would have just put a 1/4-20 on the bottom and called it a day. What I did, I just used a magic arm and went straight into the 1/4-20 on the side, which is also an option for you guys. But other than that, I mean, this is a solid little monitor. I was actually really impressed with the brightness. It looked really dang good outside without the little hood. And then once we threw that hood on there was no more glare. The reason why I like to have monitors that have SDI in and out is because I have been hired to shoot on rentals before, cameras that only have SDI, such as Alexa. So it is kind of like future-proofing yourself. But however, you know your workflow, you know what you work on. A lot of people really don't need SDI in and out, and you could save 60 bucks by doing that, and you could have a rad little monitor right here, fully 4K, really nice screen, I think, for what it is, and have some pretty cool pro options for 209 bucks if you didn't need that SDI in and out. Hey, if you're a fan of the channel and like the support, there's a couple different ways you can do that. The first and easiest way is to just hit that subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell so you get the latest videos as soon as they're dropped. But if you want to go above and beyond that and be a part of a daily filmmaking conversation, then I invite you to join the Dog Times community over on Patreon. That is where once a week I release an exclusive members-only video breaking down projects, talking gear, and sharing real-world experiences as a DIY indie filmmaker in Los Angeles. But my favorite part about the Patreon is the conversations happening over on Discord. That is where you will be connected with like-minded filmmakers and have instant access to learning ways to improve your own skills so you feel more confident about working on set as a professional. So welcome to the Dog Times community, and I'll chat with you soon.